King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Welcome to episode 587 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. This is KOP with you. Thanks for being here, checking out the show like you always do. All the major players of podcasting: Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and so many other places. And of course, you can always find me wherever you can find your, just on social media. I'm still around. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just look for King of Podcasts. And of course, the YouTube is youtube.com/JBRASCO951. That's how you go and find it there. All right, let's do it. WWE, again, disappointing us on a regular basis. And listen, I don't want to go ahead and go over the top like some of my fellow podcasters might be doing out there, that I'm sure are very upset and very just not happy with how things are going. When you're looking at what WWE is getting ready to do, let's get into the one news that is important to go and talk about before I get into the rant, is the fact that WrestleMania has been announced for the next 3 years. We know about that. First is Tampa Bay, the original plan from last year. They're going to do it after all. Then Dallas, then Los Angeles or Hollywood. So that's the plan. Then, if they're going to do all of that, really, what do you have as a future WrestleMania pay-per-views for the next 3 years? How about let alone just this year? What are you going to do for that? And then the other thing they're going to do is that WrestleMania is absolutely going to have they're going to have fans. That's the plan. So the idea will be is that there are questions about how many fans will be able to attend WrestleMania. So they're going to do it now. It looks like they're going to do 2 nights of it as the plan. They're going to do 2 different nights just like they did before. That's going to stay around. That's probably the right smart decision. So now, no tickets on sale yet, but WrestleVotes sent out a tweet saying that they revealed the expectation of the company regarding the question. So again, WrestleMania will be moving from March 28th, which originally was going to be SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, just outside of Los Angeles, to Raymond James Stadium, April 10th and 11th. So there we go. April 10th and 11th, we have that. And it'll be at Raymond James Stadium. And the company expects to have 25,000 fans in attendance each night. And how will the company handle post-Mania TV events with fans? So they're not saying what they have as so much as any idea. So WrestleVotes reports that WWE is, quote, planning on permitting upwards of 25,000 fans to WrestleMania on each night. The real internal discussions are what to do after a soft reopening of the touring schedule for live TVs, as continuing the Thunderdome post-Mania comes with location headaches. Because they're going to have to do something. They're not going to be able to go and continue the Thunderdome in a venue where they can go ahead and continue. I guess they have to figure that out. Because with Florida, with all these different teams that are going to be doing things, there's not an open venue for them to go and play at, I guess, is what the idea is. That's probably what it comes down to. So with that said, that's where they are with things. That's how they have to go and figure things out. Unless they go to like an outdoor stadium for the time being. Like they could go to Camping World Stadium if they want to in Orlando, if they have to go to that route, and go outdoors and then just do like a covered kind of stadium field with that. I don't know. Something. But they'll have to figure something that they're going to have to figure out. Who knows what. Now, that was what WrestleVotes said on Monday night. And then today, as I record, that a press release was sent out by the company that fans will be in attendance this year. And ticket information will be announced soon. And that WWE is looking at how sporting events have been welcoming fans to the venues, playing a part in the decision to welcome fans back. And there will be social distancing guidelines in place at the show. So what has happened so far is I think the NFL allowed 25% capacity. So at the most, you already saw 13 to 14,000 fans in a stadium at any given time. I think that's how it was. And there's nothing for NBA. I believe they're all no fans in the stadiums for those games. And baseball still has no fans, I believe, as well. I don't know how they're going to be doing that for what's coming up, because I don't even know what they're going to be doing for spring training, because, pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think it is. That's how it normally goes. Middle of February, and then we get the games pretty much at the end of the month of February, and then we'll find out how that works, and then we'll see what baseball goes. But for sporting events in general, there have been very limited fans. The NFL is the only one that's really allowed any fans, if any. And I'm trying to think if there's any other venues. I can't think there is. Only football has been willing, and they've been outdoor. So that's why they've been able to do that. Because even for NFL, there were certain stadiums that did not have fans. It was only where there were no lockdowns in place where they could have fans. And that was the idea. So there's that to look at. And if you're going to just try to get fans back in the stadium again at WrestleMania, that's a good thing. And of course, if they're going to make that direction happen now, then they're obviously going to want to do that going forward. But the question is, what's next? Okay, what are they going to do next to give people a reason to go ahead and feel good about getting back into the mix? That's the real question. Because right now, they're in bad shape. I mean, if you look at what the programming looks like, now it's not so much SmackDown. I mean, there's still some things with SmackDown that, remain to be resolved. But again, there's been a lot of things that, at least on one side, Monday Night Raw has been suffering badly. It is resembling WCW Thunder 2000. About to that point. Maybe a little bit Nitro 2000, because that's where they are. With only a certain amount of stars that people will actually really care about, that's where they are. And that's what you got to think about. So let's talk about the real elephant in the room. The issues with WWE programming as of late. Now look, SmackDown has been something I have kind of kept up with, but then not really, because I had other things that were going on the last couple of weeks. This past Friday, I actually went on a date. First one I've gone in a long time. It didn't go well. And, it's like I haven't done it in a long time, and it's like, if I really want to bring that up, you'll listen to it on my When I'm Not Podcasting series. That's probably where I'll bring it up. But again, that's why it's nice to not talk about my personal life on this program, because I'm sure some of you don't want to hear that. It's not important to you. It's not what you think about. It's not the first thing you need to think about from King of Podcasts. Like, really, what's my personal life like? It's much like yours, okay? I don't live anything better than you do. Trust me. Believe that. Now, they went ahead, gave the contract signing with Adam Pearce and Roman Reigns. Again, that's where they are with that. Now, letting Shinsuke Nakamura get some kind of a rub to become important again. I got to ask myself, I haven't looked at what the contracts are right now, but is it time for for Shinsuke Nakamura to be ready to go ahead and get out of his contract? Is he almost done? I haven't checked that yet, because I don't know what the contracts are on some of these guys at this moment. I have to go and take a look. At last check, well, look at the dates here. It doesn't show him on the list, it looks like. Okay. Yeah, it's too bad it's not on here. Shinsuke, I don't know how long he signed through. Huh. Interesting. We got to bring up the contracts. I got to bring that up in a little bit. Bring up some points about how that's going on. But I will a little bit. But there's no word about Shinsuke Nakamura leaving anytime soon. Looks like he's still under contract, as far as I know. And now he's getting a push right now. He goes against Jey Uso. That was a featured match they had. Okay. Cesaro playing that on the background because they're not so much of a tag team anymore. Then Bayley doing her new premiere of Ding Dong Hello. So her own show now. Anyways. couple of good matches they put together with Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, Apollo Crews, and Sami Zayn. There you go. There's that. And Adam Pearce getting Kevin Owens to replace him for the Universal title at Royal Rumble. So there's that. That's the idea of that. Got it. And, it's... At least it's somewhat better. At least it's a little bit better formed. But then the remnants, the Island of Misfits, what normally goes bad, normally goes to Raw, which is, you got to have the whole show be consistent. The two main shows have to be consistent because people just expect it right now. It's just that when you switch the gamut, okay, it wasn't Fox taking a Monday night show and taking the Raw show and making it their show. No, they took the SmackDown show. And because of the positioning and the effort they're putting on SmackDown, they've made that the other show. And people have been very subjected to Monday nights to watch wrestling because there really isn't so much else, that much of an alternative to watch unless you're going to stream. You're going to go binge watch. But you can binge watch any other night. Monday night still feels like an appointment night for wrestling fans. And I agree with them. So when you're here and you're saying to yourself, well, what are we going to do now? I got to have wrestling. What else is there to do? We're kind of stuck at this point. And I agree. But we get back to where they're doing with Raw. Again, it's the same. Just some of the direction they're doing is bad. Randy Orton with a Destroyer mask. Looking like a conquistador out there. And, the idea that Orton got screwed out of the Rumble match because this is what the Fiend wanted to do. That was the plan, was to manipulate that. Sabotage, if you will. Charlotte Flair, Peyton Royce. I'm starting to have my doubts about Charlotte Flair. She doesn't offer anything. I mean, good matches, sure. But, I'm starting to feel like that she's a little too big for her. She is too big for her britches. Should not be saying she might be, she could be. She is too big for her britches. I think she's living off the coattails of her daddy a bit too much. I don't care for the Queen comments. It doesn't do anything. I think she could do better promo talking if she had something better to go with. But again, I think she's kind of going on her own route. I don't like it. And this is a result of the company failing Charlotte Flair. As we talk with other stars, the same thing goes. Their priorities, their intentions are horrible. They're in such a bad spot right now. Now, Retribution is still a thing. I thought that faction should have gone away with Raw Underground. Okay? It's nothing now. And then Alexa's Playground. Oh my goodness. Okay. We got this too. Now this, I can't blame Alexa Bliss for because she is doing her best with what she's being able to make to do. It's a different character for her. It's definitely evolving. Her channeling the Fiend, playing kind of almost like where she's exorcised by the Fiend, right? Possessed. And now being able to go to an alter ego we get now. And I believe that it's too much. There's too much time being taken on the Fiend character and what they're doing with it when it's not working. Okay. This company, the creative, is not in the business of creating horror movies or creating anything creepy or scary. It's not working. Because I don't see anybody really playing up on that or really, defending or really commenting much about it. I think people are just kind of tired of the mistakes they've done to Bray Wyatt. I personally have. It's been too much. And they don't know what to do with him, how to handle things in the long run. And this is what this company goes through as a consistent problem. What they're doing with these stars, they don't know what to do. Shayna Baszler and Mandy Rose, again, Shayna Baszler has been a broken character. And again, it's a company that doesn't understand what they have coming into the company. They don't understand. They don't get that she can at least cut a decent promo. She can wrestle. Just a menacing character. Again, it's as if we can't do what we did. And here's the other thing. When you have a star that comes in through NXT and does a pretty damn good job and has a character, has a built up in place, and then the company, when it goes to the main roster, they can't help themselves but to tinker. And this is the biggest problem that comes to the company as well. This company must almost always change the names of the wrestlers or make it into something they can trademark or market themselves. Total creative control. What's happening now more than anything else is that they need to realize that, their model of, creating stars and creating wrestlers and creating gimmicks and characters, it's not working. And there's a reason why. If it's not working for them, they're not capable of having the creativity to create good names and good stars and do something. Like, the reason they changed the names is for the sake of the trademark, so they can market and merchandise and promote as such. Got it. But they've kind of lost their way as to naming stars, right? And then the other thing is that when they do name some stars, they're just horrible, because the names that they're coming up with now are really bad. Really bad. I don't know what you do next. I mean, because you have that. There are some cases where the names are okay. But again, when the WWE machine has to start putting their hands on what they're getting of a star, sometimes you see a star coming in and it's their name and they come in, but it doesn't work. I mean, again, when's the last star they brought in from NXT that really was built good, built well, and brought onto the main roster and successful? If it's not something that they did from the very beginning, and this is because I think when Vince had NXT, I think he was much more cognizant of it. Again, it was pre-WWE Network, and it was a matter of, being visible of all the content, and then kind of just stepping away, and Triple H being like, okay, Trips, you got this. But because Vince is a bit senile, and the rest of that team on the main roster does not watch NXT, it's as if, okay, what we do know about these NXT stars are, they're going to be able to, they're not green. We know they're not green. That's the good thing. That's all they are. Because regardless of what they are, what they've become in NXT, it's like a college degree. It gets you through the front door. But that's it. Really, NXT has become college. Okay? There's the professionals, and then there's college sports. Right now, NXT's college. It's college football. It's college basketball. That's what it is. It's something special, something neat, something cult-like about it. With a lot of good stars coming into the ranks. But again, the fact they're being treated like collegiates is the problem. They don't understand that they have these stars that are not rookies or stars that are on the way up. No, that's only in the mindset or the manipulation of WWE. But we know for those people that are in the know of watching professional wrestling outside of this company, they realize that these stars are something more than that. That they have loads of credibility, lots of matches under their belt. Their bump card is full. And they have done a lot in their careers. And they already have a name and something to go with them, just because it's not, the size of the scale of WWE fans' expectations. That should not be their problem. Again, if you are playing up to the fans' expectations on that send, the IWC, don't. It doesn't make a difference. We see this on a regular basis where the other wrestling companies are not doing that. They refuse not to. They refuse to. They're picking up characters, personalities, and enhancing them. Right? Which is what NXT should be doing. Especially when you have an NXT, an organization like that is able to go and do that. I mean, it's custom made. But again, this is where you kind of trust your stars. You trust your talent that might have a better grasp of what their character is. Or if you tell them what the gimmick is, and you quit trying to make them something that they are not able to do. You try to fit a square peg in a round hole. And you give some autonomy of this gimmick to these stars. Because how many of them are actually getting to do something where they get more of what they have? Because remember, you'll see certain stars that come on up, and then again, then they lose some of their luster, or they're either, or we're going to just focus group it, we're going to corporatize it. We're just going to make sure you only get to do a couple of things that you did of the amount of things that you did in NXT. Or we're just going to just change you because we don't like what they came up with in NXT. We don't like what you did in the Indies. We just know you were a good wrestler. Somebody recruited you, smart. We trust the recruiters. We trust the people that you work with at NXT. We trust the Performance Center that you know what to do so we can mold you. But the problem is at the top. The people that are doing the molding, okay, they're taking the finishing school. The people that are well polished, ready to go on the main roster. Because really, have we had anybody that was not ready for the main roster out of some of the stars we had? Okay, Keith Lee, Street Profits, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler. I mean, really, there was a couple stars that might have been a little bit green, but they were not too far off. Like Lacey Evans is not too far off. I mean, especially when it comes to the rest of the women's roster. But think about that. We're at a point where some of the stars we have now, again, you forget how many years of experience they have and what they've done. And they've been on television. This is not like something where, nobody's ever seen them before. No, in some cases they have. Now, sorry, it's not on USA Network. And sorry, it's not on Fox. Okay? And just because, everybody in that company, well, yeah, we're not going to watch Impact Wrestling. They're so beneath us. They're just so, so minuscule. So unimportant. Right? I get that. God forbid they try to watch MLW or NWA or any other shows that are out there, or Lucha Underground or anything like that. Oh, God forbid they actually watch any of that. Be afraid to, oh God, we can't be belligerent and start watching somebody else's product. Oh no, it's going to mess with our WWE style, because there's only one style. There's only one kind of wrestling, and we can't watch anybody else. I mean, you have recruiters that are watching the other companies. And you know what? Some of these stars, they had their way and they made their way up. Only in the very few exceptions have there been those that have been able to make it on the way up. And they haven't had to change too much of who they are. Or that there's been a little bit of autonomy given to said stars so that they don't screw up the characters, right? I mean, you got to think about it like this. Get back to my point. The stars that they wouldn't have S the bed on their way up to the main roster, okay? Has anybody really screwed up in matches of the newest call-ups from NXT? Has anybody? All we've really had are a couple of stars that wanted to go back, right? Otherwise, who have we had that has really, done a bad job making their way up? Has Keith Lee or Riddle stunk the place up? No. Has Ricochet? Absolutely not. Has Andrade? Hell no. I mean, think about it. Look at the stars you have and look at what you could be doing with them. But again, it is important to recognize where the mistakes lie. And when you have a corporate entity, a creative team that cannot talk to the bosses in denial. Okay, I got it. When you have been the establishment, okay, for 50 years, okay, WWF to WWE, right? They have taken on all comers and destroyed them, right? They were able to withstand AWA, the Crockett's, right? Jim Crockett Promotions. They were able to withstand UWF and Mid-South. They were able to withstand WCW and NWA, right? The smallest of promotions, withstanding Lucha Underground by far, not even close. Withstanding TNA, which has kind of worked its way back from near extinction to becoming a credible Impact Wrestling again. To AEW, the latest competition that they feel like is still in the rearview mirror, nothing to be worried about right now. Because now it's not so much that NXT is not able to beat them in the ratings, is that they're suppressing AEW's ratings. Do you understand what I'm saying now? So for WWE, NXT will stay in its place because it's not going to lose any more viewers. It's got its cult viewership of at least 600,000 viewers. But for them, they're going to continue to suppress AEW's ratings because if NXT did go away, which they're not going to do, let's just be honest, be cynical, folks. NXT's not going to move from Wednesday nights. They'll keep it there just as to suppress AEW's ratings. So they can't reach 1 million viewers, which will be the mission of AEW by the end of the year, is to be able to go ahead and garner 1 million viewers on the first run of their program every Wednesday night. Now they could do that. And they're doing everything they can to make it happen. Listen, don't knock it. AEW's been very good. Again, another good show tonight. Even with a particular program that was not superly overly main eventy, like it was not hot shot booked with a whole lot of things, but it was a differently booked show. It's a different show altogether. A lot of storylines being intertwined, but again, a different feel of a show. And again, a lot of stars that they don't have to go and change names and things over, okay? Sometimes gimmicks don't work. Sometimes you change the gimmicks. Look, even Peter Avalon had to change a gimmick. No more of the librarian. Now he's Peter Avalon. Okay, good. And I think that might have been something he did before. So there you have it. WWE is in denial. They feel like, oh, well, we've done this forever. Nobody's going to beat us. We are unstoppable. We are unbeatable. Even at our worst. Tell me I'm wrong. Disagree with me. I ask you to disagree with me. Because you can't. That is the real truth. I mean, that's what it comes down to. At this point, the competition or the obstacle that WWE had to deal with as of late was the pandemic with COVID. COVID was like another promotion, and they beat that too. They survived it. They were strong enough. Well, so were the other wrestling companies. They did the same thing too. They all survived. Now, they're not going to be at the level. AEW has a lot of time before they get to the level of what WWE could be. And at the moment, WWE right now is at its lowest. At its lowest level of momentum, morale, all of it. And what it comes down to is AEW, they can work their way in the next couple of years to surpass WWE at their worst. But we all know that WWE is capable of getting the ship around right. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do it. Not yet. We don't know because they have to figure things out. But they're capable of doing that. They could get it back on the right foot. They've done a couple of things to do that right. Again, the champions they have right now going into WrestleMania, I got no problem with it. Okay, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Sasha Banks, Asuka. Hey, all power to them. I am content with everybody they have as champions. They are all solid players. No question there. Okay, so you got that. But again, getting stars that you want to be able to build so that they can take on these said stars in the main event. At least for a while, you used to have some stars that you could have in there for like 6 months to a year. Remember, with John Cena, you always had an Edge or somebody else. I mean, you could have somebody that held onto a belt for a long time and have some stars you can have onto for endless feuds going after each other. But we don't have that right now, and they're not even trying to do that right now because they know they can't. Now remember, okay, going into the Royal Rumble, there are a couple stars they could have be coming back, right? We haven't had Braun Strowman or Seth Rollins around in a while. They could very well come back, right? They could very well come back by Royal Rumble. Or you could wait to have them back after WrestleMania. I don't know if they'll do that, but, think about it. So you got that to think about. And then you got to say to yourself, okay, well, what else is next? Like, who else do you have besides that there's nobody you can bring back in the part-timers? And then who are you going to build as stars that are going to be able to go after these stars if you have to go within the roster to build a WrestleMania this year? Who do you have? Could you go Sheamus, Drew McIntyre? I don't know. And who's your opponent for Roman Reigns? I don't know. There's nothing right now. Now, even though the company has bought themselves a couple extra weeks, there's nothing that shows me that they have something in the books right now that has us even a scintilla excited. How about those people that are going to find okay, for the 50,000 people, or it's going to be 25,000 people that are going to probably go for both nights, right? The die-hard fans. Some of those from across the pond or from other parts of the world. The world travelers that will go through the bullshit of going through COVID-related issues, putting a mask on, social distancing, whatever the hell they got to do, fly 12 to 18 hours on flights to make it over here, unlimited flights, expensive, and going through all these measures because they're such wrestling fans, including the ones that are local in the States here, that will also try to make the trip as well. Okay, they will try to get themselves past lockdowns and what other crap they got to do to get themselves somewhere. Think about that. You're going to have these fans sacrifice so much to go to these events. Now, it might be a little bit easier because, maybe not, the hotels are not going to be so booked and, the flights might not be so hard to go and come by. But again, you're going to get them to go on and do these flights. You're going to be able to go and do these shows. And then what are you going to do? I mean, think about it. It's crazy. It really is. So when you have that, right, you got to say to yourself, okay, then what are you going to do to get those fans excited to go in and make it? You just can't come to the show this time around because it's WWE. I mean, there might be some fans that they're clamoring to go to a live event. They want to go out. They want to get back over here. They want to go and party. They're going to find a way to do it, and they'll do it anyway. Got it? So sure they could do that, but why? Why would they go ahead and go through the trouble of coming to this event and dealing with all this crap when there's nothing really there for people to be excited about? When you have a Monday Night Raw with a couple of different things that came out that, okay, your main event of the Royal Rumble. Okay, it's not the Rumble match. Got it. Okay, let's be honest with each other. All right, so the fact that Roman Reigns, there's this little screw job thing on the contract with Adam Pearce so that Kevin Owens will be brought into the match. Okay, I can live with that. Drew McIntyre and Goldberg, I can live with that. But then you move along and ask yourself, who do you have as opponents for either of these stars? And then with Sasha Banks, you could go with Bianca Belair, sure. Asuka, I guess they're trying to build up to Alexa Bliss. I don't know. But then you look at the rest of the other stars and you say, okay, Hurt Business, they have 3 belts, right? Tag team titles, U.S. title, no opponents ready for them, right? And then you have, same thing for the SmackDown tag team titles, right? Just things like that. There's no preparation as to what the titles are going to represent and bring. Now, as we said, at WrestleMania, we know that the Royal Rumble winner on the women's side and on the men's side will determine singles challengers for one of the other belts. And that's all we have to go off of. So we know there will be a couple of matches that will be set up from that. We don't know how that's going to get set up, but that's your WrestleMania build. The reason to start off, to get WrestleMania a reason, to have people have a reason to go to WrestleMania and bring 25,000 fans each night to Raymond James Stadium. Got that. Now, moving along. When the company puts out certain things that do nothing to advance the narrative or advance the hype of WrestleMania season, or at least Royal Rumble season, because you're only, less than a week away or a week and a half away. We're here. Royal Rumble time is here, and you're only going to rely on the 2 matches. And so the fact we're going to have 2 basically squash matches, because Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, that'll be a good match, maybe a glorified squash. We know that Kevin Owens is not going to beat Roman Reigns. There's just no way about it. Drew McIntyre, I don't see him losing to Goldberg. I'm thinking that's going to be a pretty quick match. It doesn't make any sense for the drop. So what do you do next? And then after that, what else do you have? What is the company doing in the meantime to try to get interest into Royal Rumble and WrestleMania? Real significant interest. Any building of any particular stars out of nowhere that's like really just like put the push up on them. Shinsuke Nakamura, maybe? I don't know. But again, that's out of nowhere. That's out of left field. I don't believe that to be anything more than just, remember they're just kind of just putting him in a good spot because it's almost contract time. Because I don't know if he's under contract or not, how long it's going to be, but I'm just thinking to myself, well, what's next? And then what are they doing to help build up Royal Rumble? Like the actual build up on the TV product. Now we complain about that. That's the biggest problem they have because the pay-per-view matches are fine. The pay-per-views overall are okay. But of course they can always do better. But again, it is imperative that the TV product gets better. I mean, it's the part that you're actually watching on a regular basis. I mean, why is the company so neglectful now about that? Why would they not try to do something more to build from it? But they're not. They refuse to go ahead and let their denial, to overlook their denial and realize, you know what? We're wrong. We need to do something about this now. We're in a bad spot. What are we doing here? Well, so you go through Monday Night Raw this past week. Again, you have TV feuds that mean nothing, which really just kind of bury down what's going on both shows. Okay? If you're talking about SmackDown, Natalya, Tamina, Riot Squad, nobody cares. Billy Kay being a part of that, nobody cares. King Corbin, Rey Mysterio as a feud. Again, the mid-card feuds mean nothing. Right? We haven't seen Murphy and Aaliyah around, so there's nothing to go along with this at all. Now, Bayley has this thing now with Bianca Belair. Okay, we don't know what that's going to be all about. Of course, we had, this is a show, right? But what I'm saying is that Bayley kind of just being there and doing nothing more than just being just a heel to just do other things, but really has nothing else more than just to do this show and to have random matches, which really don't do anything for her. She's not having a feud with anybody, not really doing anything with anyone. And Sasha Banks not being part of the picture right now. Now, with SmackDown, what people do like is there are some good matches they have on there on a regular basis. Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn we mentioned, right? Okay, that's examples of good stuff. But again, it's like that's what they have. On the Raw side, you don't get all those great matches. You get some that are where they are building storylines there, but they're just horribly built and they're poorly constructed. Which is why we feel like this is truly the WCW Thunder or Nitro 2000 to 2001. This is like without Russo, without Bischoff involved. That's what it feels like. So Elias and Jeff Hardy and continue to be in some kind of a feud, but now Jackson Riker's involved in it. Just stretching out something to give these people something to do. The Hurt Business now fighting with each other. Internal strife. And Alexa Bliss now getting a win on Asuka non-title. And whatever. Okay, but at least you're going with something with that. And that was the main event match. At least you had to get something of substance there. It's just that the execution of the Alexa Bliss character into the new Fiend, not doing so much. It's just not working. But again, you have that. And then, AJ Styles doing nothing right now. Just kind of just in the picture with Omos, and that's it. And, seeing some guys trying to get into the Rumble, do this random match and get in. No rhyme or reason, really, no organization about getting people in the Royal Rumble match. But again, you would think that, okay, well, we're going to put people in this qualifying match, but, you're putting it out there so that people will just not watch another Ricochet AJ Styles match, but it's not working, right? And also when you have Ricochet not win, and it's what they're doing. All of it means nothing. And then of course Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke with the tag team champions and that storyline. These are just feuds just to have feuds with no heat behind them. And if there is any kind of feuds, it's like it's nothing there. It's bad. All of that. And there's nothing behind what we're excited about either. Just kind of there. Again, how do you expect people to go ahead and be interested in Royal Rumble? Okay, because, in the Royal Rumble itself, we're just going to have matchups just to have matchups with nothing more to it. But that's the problem, is that in this time, why WWE always wants to do this, where they do nothing feuds, so that they might mean something when you put them up together in the Rumble. And that's about it. But they're only going to be something, nothing more than that. Because you're only going to worry about, the Rumble, we're just going to have competitors in it. That's all that matters. And then, the gimmick of the match itself will make it exciting. Got it. A couple of surprises. Got it. That's all they're going to be able to do. That's all they ever do with these matches. That's all it's been for a while. So we are going to be excited about maybe a surprise here or there. Somebody might be coming back. Who could come back? When I talk to a couple of wrestling fans that are just like random casual fans, it is pretty sad to go in here. CM Punk's going to come back. No, he's not. I don't believe it. I don't think he's not the savior here. He's not the savior to go ahead and save all this. Like, it'll be nice, but I don't think he's coming back at this point. That'd be pretty, no. And then you got to ask yourself, people are really living off of the legacy. Okay? Do you know what's got more viral excitement than anything else? Okay, besides that Sasha Banks is in The Mandalorian Season 3. You know the other thing that's got to be said that nobody's talking about at all? Bad Bunny, the reggaeton artist, one of the biggest names in music right now, has a song on his newest album called Booker T. And they just put out a video this week, and Booker T's in it. Bad Bunny didn't do it about any other stars. And then when I heard Cardi B talking about wrestling, she's talking about The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mankind, Undertaker. She's not talking about this current thing. Again, the stars that could be, influencing and making something important of WWE, they're talking about the past. They're not talking about anything right now. Is anybody talking about Drew McIntyre right now? Maybe Roman Reigns, but really, who is? Where's the mainstream appeal? Or maybe not so much the mainstream appeal, but the appeal among the other, just like on influencing, of other influencers. Like, where's that? Where are the Instagram, TikTok influencers that might be big in the wrestling? They're always going back to the throwbacks. They're not talking about anything currently. At a time when memes and challenges and so many other things that are going on through Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all this, and there's nothing and no memes, no gifs. Like, there are some gifs that are kind of interesting, but again, this company, in the corporate sense, nobody is talking to the people that are in charge of creative or in charge of the product, that are in complete denial and living in the past, that they should be doing things throughout certain matches so as to create content that people on social media will gather on. Not just having the stars being the influencers themselves, but letting the content speak for itself. We're not seeing any of that. I don't expect you to plan it, but I at least expect you to think about it. Again, it's a matter of thinking differently about how you present this content. Okay, we could talk about the cameras. Should they have that new HD kind of thing now to one of the cameras on the entrance ramp? Yeah, that's nice. A little bit of change to the camera movement. But, Kevin Dunn, God forbid, I'm also a stickler on protocol too, because I don't like to go and change things when it's already kind of a set system. I got that part. But even he must have fought tooth and nail to have to go and do that. Okay? Because he's stuck in his ways too. In denial. If we're swinging a chair, we have to do the shaky with the camera as it's doing along, right? We all have to do that. These are the things that are part of what's going on with this freaking show. But this company continues to do the same mistakes over and over and over. And it goes back to my original point. Because they feel like, well, nobody's going to beat us. We're unbeatable. We're number one. We're not as number one as we used to, but we're still number one. And until then, we only worry about things when we have to worry about things. When our shareholders, we got to make an excuse, we'll make an excuse. But that's what they're doing. That's how they're handling all of this. They're not going to figure it out. Not yet. But again, they're not playing to win. They're just playing to stay ahead. And that's the worst mentality to have right now as a wrestling company. Status quo. But status quo is a continued decline on a regular basis. Why does this company continue to want to go ahead and do that? I'll leave that question for another episode. That's what I did. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and talk real quick about the Royal Rumble right now, what we already know so far. Here's what we got. At this point, Royal Rumble, which will be in Tampa at the Thunderdome, we have 9 entries so far for the Royal Rumble match. Daniel Bryan, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Otis, The Miz, Jey Uso, Cesaro, and Jeff Hardy. In the women's match, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Peyton Royce, Alexa Bliss. And of course, we know the two women's the two men's singles titles, Drew McIntyre versus Goldberg for the WWE Championship, and the Universal title is the last man standing match, Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. That's it. Yeah. I mean, again, the pay-per-view will be fine. We'll see how that works out. And I will get back to my point about NXT and, the transition over at some other point. I'll talk about that again. I don't want to go and keep hampering on that because I could go after that over and over. But, it's like, you think about Finn Balor. You had him where he was. He could probably be useful right now going back to the main roster, but he won't. He doesn't need to. And then, if you go ahead and bring the Undisputed Era, are they going to be able to keep their names? No, they're going to probably be changed. I don't know if they're going to be able to all keep their names. I don't know if that'll happen. And that was funny is seeing some stars being able to come in through NXT and part of the Dusty Classic and all that's going on, and seeing Priscilla Kelly. Congratulations to her making it over to NXT. Good for her. And they changed her name to some Jeezy Dolan, something like that. I forget the name. I didn't pay attention. I just didn't like it. I don't know why they didn't want to keep her name. Priscilla Kelly is a very simple name, very easy to remember, a good name. You know, just you couldn't have worked off of that. I don't know. Keep the Priscilla name, I guess. I don't know, but this company does not want to work in logic. Again, they want to be status quo in a continued decline. They're content with that. They're actually happy about that. I really believe that wholeheartedly. Okay, we're going to leave it there. I know I didn't get to talk about Impact Wrestling or AEW, but we'll keep an eye on that because Impact Wrestling has been good. Private Party now, number one contenders for the Impact Tag Team titles. Yeah, and, you know, I did talk about Hard to Kill this past weekend. Go ahead and look at the post show right here, WrestlingIsReal.com. Go ahead and check it out for yourselves. I'll go ahead and wrap it up a little early, and we'll come back, and we will look at what the go-home shows for Royal Rumble are next week here on your next Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.